Because some people say, well, Obama was this raving liberal before, now he's, Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney sometimes says, yeah, he took it all lock, stock, and barrel. My concern has always been not that we shouldn't do intelligence gathering to prevent terrorism, but rather, are we setting up a systems of checks and balances?
Yeah, that's what his concern always has been. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, a better piece I have not read, and it's the cover story of the July edition of Newsmax, the magazine. And we welcome in the author of the cover story, David Patten, and it's Abuse of Power. And David, welcome, sir. I'm holding up so everyone can see who's watching at Newsmax TV right now. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Thanks so much.
Good to talk to you again.
Chat with you.
So we find out from Obama, hey, I never really had concerns about spying. I just wanted to make sure it was done right. And by the way, the FISA court, he said, that's totally transparent. Yes, it's secret, but it's transparent. I mean, this isn't even imaginable anymore.
Well, the interesting thing about this is that, Obama's standing up and he's saying, what I want to do is I want to have an honest discussion about FISA, about NSA. But we know the program has been kept secret, and the administration has the authority to order the FISA court to release the various documents, the warrants, et cetera. They haven't done that. So on the one hand, they're talking about let's just start this national conversation. But the reality is that the problems we're seeing in this administration have deep roots, and they go back almost to the earliest beginnings of the administration. We saw sign after sign after sign of a culture of abuse of power in that first term, and now, lo and behold, those chickens are coming home to roost, and we're realizing we have a problem. Well, really, these problems began quite some time ago.
And that's a great point, and that's pointed out in the piece in Newsmax that what we're seeing now is it's shocking. It's shocking to the American public because it's hit you in the face, whether it's Benghazi to a lesser extent, although I think that's huge, and of course the Justice Department going after the journalists, and the IRS scandal, and now the NSA and the PRISM. That's out there, and the media is actually talking about it. But talk about some of the things that really laid the groundwork and should lead us to a point where we're not surprised.
Right. So we've got a whole litany of scandals now in the second term. And it's always a bad sign when your spinmeisters who go out on the cable shows have trouble keeping track of your various scandals because there's so many of them that they're really not sure which one to talk about next. But if you go to the first term, we started out with all of the concern over these czars, at least 38 specially appointed folks. Now, some of that happened in previous administrations, let's be honest. But there was a political orientation to this administration that a lot of the observers detected early on. We had things happen that were kind of not well rooted in law or precedent, things like the GM bailout. Now, the GM bailout was largely unprecedented in and of itself. However, a lot of the preferred shareholders were pushed aside in favor of a kind of a sweetheart deal for labor. What was the judicial precedent to justify that? We had things in the stimulus, Solyndra, of course, that just came back to blow up in the administration's face. You had sort of unilateral exercises of power, Obamacare, which was passed through reconciliation. You had the contraception mandate that generated probably the largest religious law series of lawsuits that we've ever seen in this country. And even on this issue of how the media is treated and handled. Remember the attack on Fox News, where they're sending everybody out to these talk shows, and they tried to freeze Fox News out from all of the press groups and everything. And then last but not least, you had the Fast and Furious debacle, and people have kind of forgotten about the gun walking program. But what they ought to remember is that U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder became the first cabinet-level person in U.S. history to be cited for contempt of Congress because of his refusal to hand over documents. So the people who think that Obama suddenly, the administration went south in the second term, they're kind of whistling in the wind. I mean, these signs have been everywhere. How did we miss them? And now, when you look at some of the polling impact of these scandals that we've seen come out, one right after another, it's really evident that the Obama administration has major credibility.
Absolutely. We're talking to David Patten of Newsmax Magazine, wrote the cover story in the July issue, Abuse of Power. And, the polls, as you alluded to, show a drop in the approval rating, a drop in those who believe that he's honest and trustworthy, and a huge 17-point shift with independents in a month's time, which is tremendous.
Well, it's hard to imagine how the administration puts this egg back together again, because they want to protest that they should now be believed. They bring out all of the NSA leaders and they have their hearing at Congress today. But in the back of your mind, you know that time and time again, in the handling of these issues, the administration had to make a statement, correct the statement, issue a new statement. Turns out that DNI Clapper misspoke. Eric Holder said that he didn't sign off on any of these warrants to the media. Oh, he misspoke as well. So when this happens over and over and over again, pretty soon, given the drumbeat, people start to say, I'm not sure I'm really buying into this. So how do they reestablish the credibility of the IRS, the fairness of the IRS? How do they reestablish or establish that they're not listening in on our phone calls, which of course they're not. They're seizing the metadata and putting it in the big box, which makes me uncomfortable enough.
Absolutely, and we had Peter Hoekstra on earlier, the former chairman.
I heard him.
Yeah, and he said that he's concerned, and also that the president was wrong, that every member of Congress obviously was not briefed on this. Listen, you could read all about it, folks, in the current cover story of Newsmax, the magazine, Abuse of Power, David Patten. David, always good to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Steve. And if they go to the website and scroll down on that right-hand bar, they can order the magazine, and got a lot of really neat stuff there, specials too, that